Hello, everybody. I'm Ademar Albertin. I'm product owner from Agile, and today we are over here with Arie, that is our chief examiner from the Agile Scrum program from Agile, and also one of the co-authors of the Agile manuscript. So I would like to say welcome to you as well, Arie. Please be our guest of today. And today the main subject is going to be about the Agile trends of 2020 and onwards, of course. And then Arie is going to be the one presenting the whole content to you. So if you have any kind of problems by not seeing the screen or not listening the audio, please contact the support from GoToWebinar that is available on their webpage. So no further ado, so let's start with our agenda. So first of all, I'm going to provide you just a brief explanation about the Agile program portfolio, and then we are going to have the content with the Agile Trends 2020 and awards, and also we are going to have the questions and answer sessions. So you can use the tab chat or questions to drop your question or your doubt, and then in the end of the webinar, we are going to address these questions directly to Arie. So you are going to have the chance to have one of the Agile co-authors answering directly your question. So the Agile portfolio is divided on security, compliance, and risk, Agile principles and culture, tech, mobile, safeness, and business intelligence and processes. So in between all these programs that we have available to the professionals and organizations, Agile Scrum is one of them, that we are offering the program and these certifications for a long time already in the market. The main certifications that we have available for professionals and organizations are Agile Scrum Foundation, Agile Scrum Master, Agile Scrum Product Owner. We have a bridge option for those that are already certified as Scrum Masters, and also the highest level of the certification, the Agile Coach. If you would like to know more about the certification, please access agile.com. So another certifications that Agile is also offering in the market is what we call Agile Career Path certifications. The Career Path certifications, they were built to provide a path for the professionals to go towards a role or some kind of competencies that are in need of the market. The Agile Scrum program is part of many of the CPs or Career Path certifications that we provide in the market, such as the Agile Service Manager that is designed for those that comes from the IT service management world but would like to become more agile. Also the Agile DevOps Quality Test Engineer and the DevOps Quality Test and Master. Now, with no more waiting, Arie, I would like to say welcome again to you. The floor is definitely yours. I would switch to you as a presenter, so just give me 1 minute. Make a presenter. Yes. Arie, the floor is yours.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. I don't know where you are. Maybe good evening. It's nice to be here. I was thinking when Ademar asked me if I would like to participate in this webinar that a long time ago, very long time ago, January 1, 1987, I started my career as a developer, and I went into a full-time training program for 3 months, and right after I was working for Ernst & Young at the time, and right after I was asked to get some certification as well, and I did my certification at Agile. So Agile is not a newbie on the certification floor. They are for over 30 years in the market. So this is you know, a funny coincidence, right? The second thing that I would like to ask participants if they are open to it. If you want, we can connect on LinkedIn or even on Twitter or Instagram. I use them very often, not high frequently, but I do my regular posts on stuff regarding Agile or Agile activities, right? So if you wanna connect, feel free on LinkedIn. I will accept your invite, and I have a habit, if you ask a question on LinkedIn, for example, to answer the question 9 out of 10 within half a day or at least a day, right? And if it's too much typing, we set up a quick video chat to answer your question. So that's for let's say for the administrative side of this talk. So when Ademar approached me and he asked me, he said, Arie, can we talk about trends and the things that you see for the future? I said, yes, of course. And sometimes for me, it's not that easy if you see people talk about, because I hear people talk about trends, and I read, of course, online a lot of stuff. And then you notice that for what for one might be a trend is for the other one common sense. And I remember that a year ago in April, I was in Indianapolis and I did a talk. And people asked me, I said, hey, Arie, what do you think about business agility? And I was like, okay, so what do you mean? What do I think about business? Do you think it's really going to be important? I said, well, for me it is, right? On the other end, you always have to look a little bit further than your own position. So coming back to trends in terms of 2020 and on, I would like to touch on two topics. And the first one is corporate agile or business agility, maybe the combination of them, which is for me common sense. Never tried anything else. But the request, okay, so what do you think, Arie, about agile outside the world of IT? Now including the business as well, those kind of questions. I would like to set up a thing. Just take the following idea, right? I started working differently. I made my switch very consciously in the mid-90s, and at that moment in time, that was sort of the common expression was, if you do a delivery, you can't wait that long. Remember that deliveries in the waterfall traditional managed projects or whatever you call it could easily be a year or 2 years. I've been in project of 3 years doing my little part in the waterfall. And then we said in the mid-90s, okay, if you want to do a delivery, technologies become important. Don't do more than 6 months, because if you do more than 6 months, the world might change so much that what you specified up front and you deliver right now is already outdated, and you have to do a lot of rework before you can go live anyway. Let's say 7 years, because I did my change in 1994. 7 years later, in 2001, we wrote in the manifesto, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Later on, time progressed, of course. We all became very aware that you have to time box everything, and you have to do your sprints. And even if you do a new delivery, an MVP or a project or whatever you call it, I don't care. The first delivery should be there very soon, within a couple of months. And I remember from I think it was 2008, 9, 10, the introduction of WhatsApp to the market. There was a lot of change going on the side, for example, in the telco industry. That when I started doing it in 1994, I always did what I call full delivery, right? So I did, of course, I had software development projects because there were new products or services that were mainly composed of software elements. But at the same time, you had to change the organization. You had to have training facilities with it, the technical rollout, and you have to be able to build in audit trails and that kind of stuff. You had to be ready for audits. So you had multiple teams working in parallel, and only a couple of one or maybe two of those teams were software development oriented. So for me, the concept of doing agile all together is sort of a common sense. And when people say, we do agile already for a couple of years and now we want to include the business, I always think, you do agile for the business, right? Why do we do agile? We do agile because we want to deliver better business value, right? The business value, that's where the focus is on. And I think, coming from the mid-90s to where we are today, agile is better business value earlier to the market with a better internal quality, right? Better business value, because if you deliver the wrong value, you have to do a lot of rework and you're late. Earlier to the market, because competition is coming from all over the world. Changes are a fact of life and in a very high pace. So you have to be there before the next change is on. And a better internal quality. myself, I do not now, of course, at the moment, but I travel a lot. I spend a lot of time on airports, and I buy almost everything online, all the way from my wine to my dishwashers or whatever, shoes, my golf gear, online. And if you go online and you look at the products and filling the basket, or even I was recently on a very nice website for a delicatessen, Italian delicatessen, and I was filling my basket and I couldn't find where to check out and pay. Swipe, next one, next shop, right? That's where you go. So better business value, earlier to the market with a better internal quality. Those three are fundamental to what Agile is and what Agile can bring and what we need at the moment. And as harsh as it is at the moment, I think the current situation where the world is in with COVID-19 demonstrated how fast things can change. Until a couple of months ago, I would say that the pace of innovation, the pace of development in technology is going so fast that you need to keep up, because what the technology, the change in technology does is it not only helps people in their business, it brings continuously new opportunities to take into products, to take into services, and to maybe be ahead of competition. But next to changing what you do and changing products and changing services, there's much more going on, because what happens at the moment is that, and already for a while, from the view of the angle of technology, is what you see is that business models are disrupted, and some business models have become completely obsolete. If you look at the telco industry, I and some people that have heard me before might recognize this, but for example, in the mid 90s, telcos would make their money with phone call minutes, and then 10 years later they would make their money with SMS text messages, old school text messages, and then again 10 years later they were making money with internet access. And I was not so long ago, a little bit over a year, I was talking a little bit over a year ago, I was talking to a gentleman of the board of a large telco in Europe. And I said to him, okay, 2014, making money internet access. It's 2024, you don't know. And he looked me in the eye and he said, Arie, 2020, I don't know. And that was a year and a half ago. And this man was not understanding his business. This man was very aware of what technology does, because it not only brings change in the work that you have, but it also, the technology facilitates your competition and it makes business models obsolete. We see, products disappearing from the market. I remember 10, 15 years ago, I had my TomTom on the windscreen of my car, being my navsat and bringing me everywhere in Europe. And I don't have a TomTom navsat to my windscreen in my car. That product doesn't exist anymore, because you have it on your smartphone or anywhere else, or even built into your car, right? Very easily. So this is how business models become obsolete. And if you have part of your organization working agile, let's say you have the IT department working agile and they are fast, but you build a new product very fast and your marketing department is not following you because they still have the old school traditional way of working. So you have a new product ready for the market, but the market doesn't know because the marketing department couldn't follow. Then you have a problem. Or the legal department couldn't follow, so you don't know how to put it in the market because you don't have a clear view on your conditions and on your legal descriptions. You're late anyway. This is that the chain is as strong as the weakest part of the chain. So corporate agile, I don't even know. Ademar asked me, hey, Arie, what are the trends you think? Maybe it's a trend. I can see it happening. And I mean, 10 years ago, it would be managers that would call me to help them out. 5 years ago, it would be a CTO that would call me to help them out. These days, I get called in by the board or by a CEO saying, hey, Arie, can you help us out? Because as an organization, we need to be agile. I think it's a fact. So yes, on one hand, it's a trend, but also for me, it's the no-brainer. This is where you need to go as an organization. And the situation where we are in at the moment points this out more than ever. Very simple line, one element of the whole story is slow. The whole thing is slow, right? This is where we are, and we cannot afford ourselves to be. So we have the stories in our past. Everybody will know stories about things that have been going terribly wrong, and technology facilitates on one hand. On the other side, it's subject to change, and this is where we need to be able to respond. So what you need to go into now is to, if you're not already, right? And if we do agile transformations with humanity, we are very aware of this point. So when we go into transformation, we take what I call the full delivery teams, where everybody who works on a delivery, either if it's just one sprint or you go into new MVP deliveries and you work a couple of sprints before you go live. We take in all the people who have an authority to accept or reject and who are involved in at least some element of the new product or the new service. We take them into that process, and they are part of the agile way of working. And for me, agile is not just one thing. It's looking at. I always go back to, there's a book of Jim Highsmith that he wrote shortly after writing the Agile Manifesto, which covers all the agile methods that were represented when we wrote the manifesto. And if you go to this kind of knowledge background, what it will do for you is it will give you a whole load of practices that you can apply, and that will help you in doing agile altogether. If you look at the agile methods that were represented in 2001, there were 13. Some of them were focusing really on the delivery of the value improvement with high business collaboration every couple of days. Some of them were looking at very much at the efficiency of the team and avoiding the redundant work. And others were looking on the quality. And if you see that agile is a concept, and in the concept we have methods, and every method has a set of practices in the way of working, don't limit yourself, but cherry pick from the practices from all those methods. And note that since 2001, more methods have been put on the market. So there are more practices available. There have been new developments in terms of practices. There have been new developments in technology. So you can cherry pick for you what helps you the most, and that will increase your corporate agility. Now, if you take from that perspective, one of the things, the efficiency, if you take the efficiency that Agile will bring, you can save a lot of time. And some companies will say, because I heard it sometimes even on national radio, that companies will say, yeah, we're going Agile, so we're going to fire a lot of our people. The real smart companies will understand that, yes, we're going to be much more efficient, but if we use that efficiency to go into innovation, because we accept that the pace of change has gone up, will never go down. And we can take the time that we're not only on working agile together, all together, so we can do a full delivery, but also the time that we save, we can use that time for innovation. And we accept the concept of fail fast. Then you go into a continuous process of innovation, which will help you to explore based on all those new innovations and all the new technologies and all the new trends or events in the outside market like we have at the moment. We can make our organization really, really agile as a whole. So it's not only working agile altogether, but also understanding that part of being agile is being prepared for the future and being able to adapt your organization to changes, not only in the market, but also with outside events like the COVID-19 we have at the moment. So my point here is that corporate agility will be a trend. The trend is there. For me, it's common sense to do it all together. What has the last couple of months has shown is that you have to be very fast. Innovation was already on the calendar. I remember doing a couple of years back a transformation where my client said to me, I want to do a transformation because the efficiency in Agile will save me time. I am a tech company, and this part of Agile, the efficiency, will give me time that I will use for innovation, because innovation is my lifeline to the future. And we see all over that organizations at the moment are trying to find changes on their current business models because they're in trouble, or trying to find completely new business models because of the change situation, on travel restrictions and not being able to have face-to-face physical to physical contact like this, right? So that's one. And there's another thing that's going on, and that's for me maybe the second trend that I want to do. If you have this, this whole organization working agile, everybody is in there. The whole organization, the marketing is working agile. I've been in Central Europe quite a few times. The demand for example, for IT people is high. And if you have a big new organization coming into your local market with a nearshoring offer, and they pull out all the people of your organization because they pay a lot of money, what do? Your HR department has to be ready to be very agile and to respond very fast and with a high level of quality to that market, to keep the people or to get in new people and to see and identify what they really need. And I think a couple of months ago, I would say maybe half a year, I got an interview and people asked me, Arie, what do you think about the millennials? Because millennials, they have a different thing about what they want from life and what they want from work and the work-life balance. I don't know if it's just a millennial. I perceive life different from how I did it 10 years ago and what I would be focusing on and what is important for me in work. And I can see, people that I work with sometimes at the age of 24, sometimes at the age of 64, working, and that a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people make that same movement. So what can you do to look at your workforce, being all together from top to bottom and to offer them what they are really open to, what's really important to them in terms of what their employer offers them and what they can get out of it and what's relevant for them. So the cooperators in your organization, I think that's the trend. And I'm talking just agile HR, but I'm talking okay, how am I going to perceive this? And I like one of those videos. I think it's from originally 2007, 8, 9. I don't know exactly. It's from Daniel Pink, who is doing a lot of work on human motivation. We didn't think about this when we wrote the manifesto. At least I didn't. In hindsight, I know this is exactly what it was about for me. And what he says is that the moment that you have work where you have use part of your cognitive brain, your brain, and you really have to think about solutions, etc. Money is not so much a motivator. The moment that money is not a problem at home, there are 3 major motivators: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Right? And the autonomy in Agile, as we know, is very big. So that's awesome, right? In the work, people can decide in the morning what they take off the board, work on, and it's not about individual tasking, it's about team delivery, and they help the team and they get there. That's the second one. Then you go into the purpose. Instead of delivering a requirements list, the client says, okay, this is the value that I'm looking for. And the requirements help the client to fulfill that value. So the moment that the team, including the business representatives and all the other stakeholders, they deliver this and the value is achieved, people feel proud, people own, right? So at least I have the same thing with my clients. If we get there, makes me very happy. And the last one is autonomy, mastery, right? So the mastery, the continuous learning, and we all know that the retrospective process that we have in Agile working will give every professional in an Agile domain, almost continuous flow of learning and improving. And this is what Agile offers, right? So if you bring that together, for me, the next trend is that corporates will look at, okay, my workforce is now getting into this Agile way of working. They are very committed once they see the purpose, and they have the autonomy, and they can really learn and improve all the time, the mastery. Then the next question is how can you make them happy in the company? What can you offer them? And I'm always very happy that I have years and years of experience in having really, really, really self-organizing teams. In 1997, so this is years before writing the Agile Manifesto, I joined the company in March 1997. I joined the company, and that was completely based on self-organizing teams. It was a consultancy and development company. We did in small teams. In the teams, we did everything, all the way from recruitment, marketing, sales, and delivery, and evaluation and rewarding, and the whole process up to the level. And I don't say it has been always a success, but there were a lot of learnings and very good performance and very good results, up to the level that in teams you could decide on your own salary, you could decide on who got what from the bonus, you did it all in the team. That kind of self-organizing environment is very valuable for teams, and it's much more than doing agile delivery and facilitating people that so they can do their work in an agile way. It's also on the other side of the company where you say, hey, have those self-organizing teams, let it go, accept there will be mistakes, accept things will be going wrong, but also as an organization, facilitate the platform where people can make those mistakes, can quickly get support and help to fix the mistakes and move forward. Was a company that by the turn of the century, so the company started in 1996, the turn of the century, like let's say a couple of years later, I joined them in 1997. And then in 2001, we wrote a manifesto. So if you read things about, trusting people to get the job done, and the client, happy client is the number one that you focus on. Those kind of things, or maximizing the work not done. We did everything in the team, so you wanted to do as efficient as possible. This is where my thought was, next to delivering client value, because that was my motivation for change in the mid-90s myself. Then I got into this company, and we learned how to work. So there's a lot of experience and a lot of thinking in the manifesto. And I think now we got to a point where we all know that agile working is absolutely the way to go. The moment where we are already for years shows that the pace of innovation, pace of change is going so fast that you need to be able as an organization to respond. And if you don't, you will be in deep trouble. One of the very sad stories that was in the newspapers in the Netherlands, where I live, this week or this weekend, was that we don't have a shortage in protective clothing for healthcare employees. Now we have the masks, we have everything, but it's now the point is, can we get them to the elderly homes where people need those, and to the hospitals? Can we get them there? And here it comes. Bureaucracy is killing the process. So we have enough, but getting them in the elderly homes is a problem because bureaucracy kills it. And if you're a government, you can allow yourself because you're not going to be bankrupt. But if you are a company and this is what you do and this is how you work, competition will bypass you. And there you go, right? So this is also the moment for me that parliaments need to sit down and say, hey, we messed up. And I don't want to say we fucked up, but I think they did. So I use the nice word, we messed up. And that they take the responsibility, and now we have to change, because this COVID-19 thing will happen again in a different way, in a different version in the future. And then we have to be ready, right? And we cannot allow these same mistakes again, unless you want to accept this kind of failure again. So second trend, you're next to corporate agility and business agility. The second trend that I see, and it's not a trend anymore, it's already there, but will be extremely important, is, okay, as an organization, how do I work together with my cooperators in terms of making sure that I facilitate them in agile working themselves, but how can I get them into offering them inside my organization the maximum of self-organizing teams. One of the things you can do as an agile organization from that perspective is, if you look at the traditional profiles, and so many organizations in transformation or who call themselves agile, I walk in and I still see old job profiles. And what happens in the old job profiles, if you want to promote, whatever promotion means, up, going up in your career, it's prescribed what your next job looks like. And then it's prescribed what the job after will look like, and what the job after will look like, etc. You're going up the waterfall. And note that in a lot of companies, the unions are very strong, the job profiles are described, and they are not helpful in either changing job profiles or even bringing in new job profiles. I talked to one of the board members in last 15,000 people company in Europe. And he said, Arie, we have been collaborating with the union for a year and a half to get the job profile of an agile coach approved. The point is, this kills you. And I think what in agile HR or whatever you want to call it will become very important if you want to keep your people in and you want to give people the best place where they can develop themselves, is to offer the people an opportunity to develop them in the direction of their ambition. Make it flexible if they want to change that ambition because of their learnings and things that they found out, and not to squeeze them in pre-described profiles. And if we look in Agile and we say, hey, Agile is not about individual tasking, so siloed tasks, this is what you do, but we go to team delivery and you take from the board what is needed, to get your delivery done. And sometimes it's this kind of work, sometimes it's that kind of work. It means that the types of work, the tasks to be done in a team, you can easily say, okay, half or a little bit more of the task you should be able to do. And this is where you can offer people their, within their own ambitions, where you say, okay, so you had your silo profile, and what is it that you want to do next? What is what you want to learn next to what you already do, next to what you already know? And if you get this way of working, what will happen is that people choose what they like. And I know that if you do what you like, you get the best quality from people. Because if you force people to do things that they don't like, they will not be happy with it, and the quality will go down. And the moment you give people an opportunity to do the work that they like, they go for it, they learn, and they give the best. So in an agile environment, if you allow people to develop themselves within their ambition and being part of an agile team, and in that ambition, learning things and developing in a way that will help the team, you get the best out of people and you get the best out of teams. So from that perspective, going back and making a little bit of summary, we have corporate agile, business agility, right? Where you take in also the innovation, make it happen. And then we have on the human side, you offer them on your inside of your own organization, not only agile working, but you work for them agile and you let them develop within their own ambition. If you want to do this, basically that's a part of your transformation. And going into self-organizing teams just like that does not work. So if you have management asking for change, but not facilitating that change, then we have an issue, right? So that's why you want to go. So like in any transformation, the leadership in the company is essential. And it's not just talking about change. It's not saying, okay, now you're changed and now you're this team. It's about making sure there is time, space, and money to make that change. Now, in that change, know that if you do something for the very first time, what happens if you do something for the very first time? Very simple question, very simple answer. If you do something for the very first time, let's say at least the outcome will not be brilliant. And very often things go wrong. What will happen most of the time is that people will say, oh, see, it doesn't work. And they step back into old habits. If you're lucky, people will say, oh, it doesn't work. What can we do to make it work? And what people will do is they will look in the back of their brain for a solution, solutions that they know, solutions from the past, solutions from the old way of working. So before you know it, as an organization, instead of innovating forward, you're innovating backward. So what you need as an organization is experienced and qualified help. And I touch a little bit on where Ademar started with, is where you say, a coach, he mentioned also the coach. We have in the Excellence, there's the coach program, And I think I always have a bit of a thing with certifications. But you know, I went to school, so I had my certifications as well. And most of you went to school. I have a bachelor degree or a master degree, so that's a certification. And I think in Agile, which is a very young domain, it's good to have some certifications where you have to work for, and that really prove a point. And the one that I'm aiming for is the Agile coach. And Agile coaches are the ones that will help you as an organization the moment that you're in this transformation process and you get stuck and you know there's a risk of innovating backward. They will help you, say, take you by the ears and say, no. If we look at Agile, look, this is where we want to go. And they will help you to innovate forward. To be able to do that, as an Agile coach, your knowledge base is massive, right? You need to have your experience, but also look at all the Agile methods that we have, all the way from you know, when we wrote the Manifesto of Extreme Programming and Crystal and Adaptive and TSDM, the old ones that were there, the ones before like Lean and Kanban, which I perceive as part of the family, the ones that were developed later like LESS. You know, this is your knowledge base where you need to go. So in terms of Agile knowledge and experience, you know, you need to understand the concept of Agile. Then you need this whole range of methods, which methods itself is not, it's the practices below this. And as a coach, you need to understand those practices, because if your client is struggling, if a team is struggling, you can take one of those practices and say, okay, this one will help you. And it doesn't matter what kind of method that you use or what kind of methodology that you use, it's the practice that will help people moving forward, innovating forward. And that's one element of the profile of an Agile coach. And the other one is coaching skills. Too often we see successful sports professionals becoming a coach as well. And it's not a guarantee. When you are a good sports professional, you can also be a good coach, and vice versa, right? So you need to build, you know, your backpack with a lot of Agile knowledge and experience, and on the other side, a lot of coaching knowledge and experience, because people will be resistant, people don't know how, people will get tired of change, people will be threatened by change, and you need to know how to handle this, right? So in terms of trends, business agility, corporate agility, don't forget the innovation part, because that's the real lifeline to the future. And the other one is on the human side, not only work Agile in the transformation phase, but also make sure that you as an organization facilitate your people in Agile working in the self-organizing team. So not only in Agile, in the delivery, people can work Agile, but also in the internal organization, they feel the same sense of freedom, and you make sure that you get the best out of it, right? So those are, for me, the things that I wanted to put on the table. There's a lot more to say, but I think we have like 20 minutes left, so I would like to go back to Ademar, who will facilitate all the questions if there are any. So I would like to invite you, if you want to check questions, send them in, and Ademar will facilitate them. Ademar, can I hand over to you, please?
Yes. We received a question over here that they agreed with you when you were talking about the self-organizing teams. However, they see many problems regarding to management versus leadership. And most of the time, to provide actual value for the client, they have to do what they have to do. So let's say that they need to do what the organization is asking for. So how to address this situation? How to let the teams to choose what to do and still keeping delivering the value that is being requested for the organization? Basically, how to change the situation.
Okay.
What are your
a very legitimate question, I can tell you. Someone that I value a lot, who is on a high position in a pretty big company, they're under stress as well, right? And the response of the CEO is sending out spreadsheets. Fill in the spreadsheets, fill in the spreadsheets, fill in the spreadsheets. The point is, with spreadsheets, they don't change anything, right? Management of spreadsheet is an old school response. And instead of saving the company, those people that are really out in the market and should really save it, what happens is they are sitting behind their desk trying to populate Excels. Doesn't work. What I said, and that's the answer to the question, what I said, leadership is so important. The top, let me put it the other, the top of the organization is so important. You need to lead that change. So you need to identify, okay, why am I doing this? And if the top doesn't commit to change, if the top doesn't commit to it, it's almost a lost cause instantly. And especially under stress, what people tend to do is, they step back into old habits. And for example, trying to cut costs. At this moment, cutting costs is nice, but that's not going to make you survive. Your revenue is going to make you survive. So if you want to make that change in an organization, it needs to start with an awareness at the leadership team. They need to facilitate the change. They need to role model the change, because as long as they give a traditional push into the teams and the organization, the teams and the people will give a traditional response. And the same thing that ever happened will keep on happening. I don't have, it's not like I have a silver bullet for this one. But the point is, the leadership is where it starts. And if the leadership is not open to do things in a different way, it will not work. So this is where you put your energy on first, on the leadership team. So Ademar, that's my answer. Sorry, that's why you need focus. And there are many ways to do this, but in the end, every human being is a human being, and some people are very resistant to change. People on management teams, this is management and not leadership, right? And people on management teams are very often longer in the company, have a lot of old habits, have done things always in the same way, and breaking those habits is the most difficult part of any transformation. Yeah, but that's where it needs to start, nothing else.
Okay, I have a question, Arie, actually. Because in the beginning of the trends, you tap into the subject of the millennials, actually.
Yeah.
I would like to understand a bit better about, are the millennials more inclined to use Agile than other generations? How do you see the difference of the generations by using Agile? Because I think this is like an important subject, because here and there, many times in different countries, I see many organizations struggling to understand how to deal with the different generations that are in the organizations just now. And we have the new generation also coming up to the market right now. So how to deal with this, like based on the Agile thoughts? Is this something that you see happening, or they are moving forward more to Agile or not? How do you see this?
The way I see this is, if I go back to Daniel Pink, autonomy, mastery, purpose, but just take those three. Most organizations have ways of treating their people based on the past. And the past would mean pre-described functions and roles. This is what you do. This is what you absolutely don't do. And you have your manager, and he tells you what to do. And that kind of habit. This is the way you promote. This is the way you develop. And I remember a phrase of someone I know in the Netherlands, and years ago, and she wanted to go to an agile training, and I was having dinner with her and her husband actually, and she said to me, "Oh, Arie, about the training that I wanted to attend your training, my manager said that's not in the interest of my career to go to your training." And I think the only one who knows what's in the interest of your career is yourself, right? Nobody else, not one bloody manager, right? Because it's in a pre-described role and function, and it says, okay, this is what you have to do, and this is what you cannot do, and this is what not there's a budget for. That kind of bullshit. We learned a lot, humanity learned a lot. We are stupid very often as humanity. You can see what's going on in some countries at the moment, but at the same time we learn a lot. And also the digital highway has brought a lot more information to us than we had 30 years ago. So people know a lot more. We have seen things, we've seen things fail, we have seen people being unhappy, and etc., etc. And so the people that are now younger in the market, I'm in my mid 50s, but people like in the mid 30s or in the mid 20s, that age, they know a lot more is going on and say, hey, I don't want this bullshit. This is what I want. That's for me important. And that is going on. And of course, when economy is getting tight and you have old school management in an organization and they do old school tricks, there's maybe less opportunity for that kind of approaching the people in the organization. But I think those organizations will lose soon because, first of all, working that way in an organization will not help the organization to survive in the long term. And second, when economy is going well, young people will not choose for those organizations, but to go to the one that will facilitate them in helping them to achieve their lifetime ambitions, right? The big objective, not just a career. So I think it's the level of knowledge that we have, that the millennial is also just a word. If you're born in the 80s or in the 60s, or it could happen to you as well. This is what I say. I see people doing this. People make complete career changes after a career of 35 years. But a lot of people know what's going on much more and what's out there in the market and what makes them happy, and will turn away from the old school management styles.
Great, thank you very much for your answer. Yeah. We have more questions. Well, I'm really enjoying the questions that I'm receiving over here. So the next one, when it comes down to promote Agile at organizations, as far as I can understand the question, it's not to sell Agile itself, but when the organization already took the decision to use Agile somehow. But then you have the employees level that you need to ensure that they have knowledge enough to put the Agile practices at the organization. But how do you do to add like a value to the knowledge that is being put at the employee level to deliver value back to the organization?
Yeah, so how do you get the knowledge of the people in the teams up to the level so they know what it takes in agile working, right? That's what you're asking. We have to understand that for most organizations, this is a change, and a serious change. And don't underestimate this kind of change, because if you have done it always like this, and then all of a sudden someone says, no, from now on we do it like this, and it feels very uncomfortable, right? It's getting out of your comfort zone. So what you have to understand is that people are willing to experiment, most of them. They don't like change that much, but in sort of a safe environment, right? And this is where the coach comes in again. So the coach will help you to step not into all those pitfalls all the time. And also the leadership comes back in where you as a leadership can role model that teams can practice and experiment and improve all the time. And if you find an improvement, it doesn't mean that you did it wrong way before, but you just found the next better version, which is better for everybody, individual, team, and especially organization. In that process, I don't have a problem with measuring things. Like things like team happiness, but value delivery up to the level, okay, what we delivered, is the client happy? Are you now delivering less bugs? So you can, as a team, you can also see, hey, we're doing this in a better way now. We are improving here. And I think that's a real good thing to do. Those kind of things need people with you that help you to lead that path. And I think there are two: the leadership, of course, and the other one is the coach. Coming back again to the coach, and the coach can also be an internal coach. It doesn't have to be someone from outside the organization, but the coach needs to be knowledgeable and open to learning. And I meet a lot of people that are not so, even if they are calling themselves agile, that are not open to learning about, okay, what did you do? What did you well? How did you overcome this problem? And especially if a team is struggling and I want to get to the next level, that you can say, hey, this is what we could do, because if this is how you're working and this is your problem at the moment, this practice might really help you to solve that. And in that practice, the leadership team needs to lead the new way of working, and the coach will help you to do it because you don't know the first time. Right? I like to make a metaphor with sports, an analogy with sports. If you always play football, the green field, white lines, 2 goals, and a white ball. and you play football, and then you say, okay, now we're going to play hockey. If you don't pay attention, because hockey is about a green field, white lines, 2 goals, and a white ball too. People go to a hockey field to start playing football because that's the only thing they know. So you need people with them to, to learn the rules of the games, to accept the new facts of life. It's a paradigm shift. The measurements of the field are different, of the goals are different, of the ball is different. This is what you need to understand. This is how you bring a ball into the game. It's different from playing hockey for football, right? Someone needs to tell you this is how it works. Then when you start doing, they need to coach you on how to do it in the right way. And if you make mistakes, how you can overcome them, and what's the trick to overcome the mistakes that you made and the things that were not going so well. So coach, to help you, this is where you are. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Second, leadership. First of all, facilitating the change. Second, role modeling the change. That's my answer.
Thank you very much, Arie. We have more 2 questions to go. And then due to time issues, then we have to end up the webinar. But before we go, I would like to address these 2 questions because I think they are pretty much interesting, especially this one.
Okay.
It's kind of related to the time being that we are living now. Do you think that the agile practice can be applied for the public sector? So, for example, government activities in light of the failure of various governments of the world, as for example, by using the COVID-19 case that we are facing now. Do you think that by using agile governments, they would be more flexible or even more like sharp into the actions and even more agile to solve like public issue public politics issues for the citizens? How do you see this?
So the first question was there, okay, do you think it's applicable for government? Yes. Like any other organization, the moment you deliver something, the moment you make something, agile can be applied. And people might say, but yeah, we're heavily regulated, or we use hardware, or we do this, or we do that. And I remember in 1998, a guy from bank said, he was an external test professional, and he said, if you want to work like this in a bank, I wish you a lot of success because the bank will be bankrupt in a year. And we all know in the agile transformation at the moment, fintech is leading, right? So governments, yes, I did a lot of agile in the governments. It's tough because those old habits and the bureaucracy and the silos in governmental organizations is tough. Tough like in any old organization, because the older the organization, most of the time, the tougher it is. But look at this COVID-19, if you ask for it. What I just gave in the beginning, where we appear to have, we have enough protective clothing in the Netherlands, but we don't get it to the elderly homes because of bureaucracy. This is exactly where you have requirements and process thinking versus value thinking. Okay, we have to follow the process. The process is hindering the fucking delivery over there. So what are we doing? So instead of taking it by, sorry, I wanted to use another word. You just take it in, and you kill that bureaucracy, and you make sure that you get to the elderly homes, and they can do the tests, and they can have the clothes over there, right? And that's the value that we need, because we need to save people. No. We follow the bureaucracy. Yeah. Let's kill some people. So yes, there is a need, and yes, it can be done. And yes, it's not different from any other big organization moving into an agile transformation all over the world.
Okay, Arie, thank you very much. So the last question that I have that we are going to address during this webinar. Customers, they still have the mentality of the final product and not from the MVP. So what are your tips to switch this mentality and communication? Because so far we are still seeing customers asking for the final product date, basically the launch, but not much from the MVP, because they are not caring much about the MVP. They would like to see the final product working. So what are the tips that you can share to the audience to switch this mentality from organizations and customers from final product to MVP?
Yeah, so in the end, the customer doesn't really care about final product or MVP. What the customer really cares about is, do I get my value? And customers, if they are not open to have an MVP delivery, obviously don't recognize that there is value in the MVP delivery. So this is where you need to take them. So if you, together with people from the business representatives, if you can sit down, okay, this is the full product that the client is looking for. Most of the time, it's a management team or a big manager in the organization that addresses the budget to get this new product. As I said, it's a company product, right? It's not to the open market. Then you have to work with the people that are actually on the workforce in that, using that product or bringing that product into the market. Okay, what is the value if I bring part of it, and what part would be the best to deliver first? So we have the MVP, and it's more about bringing the right information to the client than the client not accepting it. The client will not accept if the client doesn't know. So this is where your own effort comes in, and splitting it up into valuable parts. And that's what you do with people of the business. If you are making a new product and you are making it, and you will say, okay, this is how we need to split it, client is not interested. But if people from the client will tell the sponsor in the client organization, hey, this is how we split it, because then we get more value, because it takes, instead of 9 months to get a delivery, now it takes 2 months, and we have the first return on investment. And it doesn't cost any more, because you just MVP, and then you build on valuable functionality afterwards. Client will be open. It's about giving the right information, but it starts with the value thinking. So you have to define the overall business value of the product that is going to, the service that is going to be made. And then if you do the MVP, okay, regarding to this one, what will be the value of the MVP? And I like to make very often that this is of course every metaphor that you do is, but look at the Mona Lisa. If you paint half the Mona Lisa and you put it in the Louvre, a lot of people already come and look. And then if you add another 25%, they will come and look again. And if another 20, they will come and look again. So instead of having a visitor one time, they will come 3 times. That kind of logic is there. But you need to clarify, you need to show it, and you need to do it from the business perspective, not from your own development perspective.
Thank you very much, Arie. Thank you very much. And then I can say easily, on behalf of Agile and then on behalf of all attendees that are over here, they are sending loads of questions, also compliments to you for your knowledgeable session. It was fantastic, fabulous. So I would like to say, Arie, thank you very much again to be together with us, to keep being our chief examiner and spreading Agile in this whole world. I would like that all the organizations in this world and professions could benefit from your knowledge. So thank you very much for your participation. And of course, we would like to see you soon together with us again for more sessions together with the professionals and organizations worldwide. So thank you very much, Arie.
Thank you, Ademar, for organizing, and thank you everybody for being there. Most people are still there, so that's very nice to see. And who knows, in the future. See you again. Ciao. Bye.
See you. Ciao, ciao.